Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video and another one in which I'm going to compare, looking for the ultimate sounding version. And today I'm going to be talking about this album, Déjà Vu by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and I have a bunch of them here. I've got 4 pressings and I'm going to talk you through them. Now, to start off, the first time I bought this album was about 10 years ago, and I found a second German pressing in a second-hand store, and I paid 25 cents or 50 cents for this album, which is obviously not a lot of money. And this one, this German version, it's not a bad sounding pressing. It's the second pressing from 1971, and I really enjoyed listening to this one. But as you can see, it's a normal sleeve, and why do I point that out? Because when I bought it, I was not really into the sonics of things. So the moment I found one with the real sleeve, the textured sleeve, I immediately was hooked and I bought it. So why are there different sleeves? Well, if you can take a closer look, this is a first German pressing, but it has the sleeve as it was also released in the United States. And somebody pointed it out to me recently. Somebody who is a graphic designer got a hold of this album and said, "Damn, this is expensive." I said, "How?" He said, "Well, first of all, the texture of this sleeve, this stuff is really expensive stuff, and you cannot just put it through a printer. So the image has to be, this has to be hand put on there. This has to be hand glued. So that's an expensive process. Then another thing is these gold lettering. How did they get them on there? Those also have to be put on there separately. You can't just print this. So very interesting. I did not know that. And then I looked online, and this indeed was the most expensive cover printed at the time. So only the first pressings have that, and some special remasters. But this was an expensive process. And here I have the first German pressing. Although the second German pressing is good, this one even has a bit more, it has more clarity. I noticed that going from the second to the first one, the essence in equalizing and all, it's not so different at all. It's just a bit more clarity. The other is slightly muddier than this one. And it's a very nice step. It's really becoming clear that this album sonically has a lot to offer. This is a very good pressing. The first German pressing, I really enjoy it, but then I found a first American pressing. Also with the textured sleeve, I have it here. And this one, the step from the German, which is already pretty good sounding, to the first American one, is interesting. Yet again, the difference is with clarity, and in this was the situation as well. The sound stage widens. It becomes more and more clear how sonically impressive this album is. Also, what this one has that the German doesn't have, you hear some sibilance. So there is sibilance in the S's, which I really don't mind, but there is more sonically to it. Beautiful representation of the voice, very beautifully clear. I really enjoy listening to this first American pressing, though it has indeed some sibilance, but the sound stage seems to be wider. The instruments are more around me. It's even better defined, and this is an incredible pressing. Now, when you look online at forums, there are 2 preferred versions. There are people who talk about a late 70s pressing, which I have not found, but even more people are praising this very expensive pressing, which, by the way, this copy isn't mine. I borrowed this from a friend, the MoFi. So what I have here is the MoFi versus the first US pressing. And on the first 2-3 spins, when I compare them, because I compared them a couple of times, I preferred the MoFi. Now, and the MoFi, by the way, also beautifully has not the exact same texture, but it looks a lot like it. The Color is also a tad different than the of the original US pressing. Beautiful gatefold, but they did an interesting replica of the original, and I really like that they put the MoFi logo here in this way. Now, so a lot of people prefer the MoFi to the first US. And here's where it gets interesting, because I'm not sure what happened on this pressing. The MoFi has clearer highs, slightly clearer lows, elements like the backing vocals, especially in the high, there is a lot more information. Now, I think some of the viewers might know that whenever MoFi has things in the high that are usually not heard, they have the smiley equalizing, boosting the highs, boosting the lows. And I'm not sure if they did it here, but if they did that here, they did a good job. I don't like messing around with the master tapes, but this seems to me more like the way it was intended. So here comes the question for me. Did they smiley equalize this one? Or does this one lack a bit in the high and in the low to make it suitable for a good pressing? Now, this is an Atlantic pressing, and the Atlantic pressings are known, as you know, for example, with the Led Zeppelin 1 story, which, if you're interested, I did a video on Led Zeppelin 1. And there's also the Led Zeppelin 2 story, in which the good pressing was retreated for a very simple, heavily equalized pressing, so needles wouldn't skip out of there. Atlantic wants people to keep the needle in the grooves, especially around those days, and with very cheap record players. Now, is this heavily equalized so that you don't hear all the highs, which you hear here? Or is it a case in which this has a smiley equalizing? I don't know. I don't have the master. But though I really don't like messing with a master tape, I think this sounds much more like I think this would have been intended. Because, and that's what's the problem with a lot of these these smiley face equalized MoFis, it messes with the balance, and the main center voice just loses the focus. This one doesn't lose that focus. This is a good balanced equalize. The main vocal is out there. It's got its volume, it's got its power, and then the highs and a bit of the lows are there to make it an entire interesting soundscape. Yet the voice is a tad bit more in volume here, a tad bit, but it's not as different as I've experienced with other MoFi pressings. This to me sounds a lot more like I would imagine being in a mastering room, and you have all these beautiful voices there, and you make a choice. The center is the center, it's rock steady, but it has the entire broad soundscape there. So clarity-wise, I think both are about equal, clarity-wise. But the representations, especially in the highs and the balance, this seems to be a brilliantly balanced one. So my favorite actually is the MoFi. It is a sonic masterpiece. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!